came back home. But unfortunately, we found when the house was empty. We were all stuck in silence. We were all scared. My father called the police immediately and they had to come. All the things they had stolen were found at our poor neighbor's place. That was the evidence that he had stolen the things and he was the same person who attacked us. But who was there? Who was there to notice that he was the person? He was arrested immediately. He was not given a chance to defend himself because whatever he spoke was not being understood. That is because he never knew English. That is because he had not attained education, so he was inconsiderate. The police tortured him. It was really too much. I guess that police had no ethics at all, because I believe that even a criminal cannot be tortured in that way Moses was tortured. I pained a lot. I looked for a solution, but I was too young to speak. I tried to speak to my father. Maybe Dad, he's innocent. But my father pushed me away and he said, "Don't be stupid." I respected him. But the little education that I had attained wanted to help me to solve the inequality and the injustice that that man was facing. It was truly unfair to him. They say money talks. Though he was sentenced to life imprisonment, but in my heart, I still believed that he was innocent because there was no one to witness. There were no cameras to witness. But because he was poor, because he had not attained education, and because of the poor environment that we lived in, that's why he never got justice. I realized that education is important. And ethics are not rules, but they are choices.
Okay, thank you, Mary Sheila. That was interesting. Now we will have Tina Christine.
Well, most people say that series and movies have no lessons to teach us. I was seated in my sitting room today watching The Manipulated. It brought back memories that I thought I had got done with and I would never have to relive again. The story of my mother 5 years ago from a small village in the western region. My mother, a woman who was a single mother who made sure that she toiled to feed our children and educate all of us. When I was young, I had just finished my primary 7, and I hoped that maybe I'll join secondary. But because we didn't have enough funding, my mother was poor, I had no hopes that I would join. So one day I come back from the garden with my mother, and she tells me with a broad smile on her face that we are going to a supermarket to shop. Well, of course we went to the supermarket. Fresco, my first time entering a supermarket. When we reached there, we shopped everything that we needed. A blanket, a mattress, and of course a towel, something that didn't take up more than 200 because that was my mother's life saving. When we reached at the cashier, my mother was paying the bill when suddenly one of the people who were tending to us in the supermarket, a young lady, beautiful and smart, dressed so well, the so-called slayers of these days, she came and approached my mother and told her, "Woman, you stole a perfume." My mother turned around and looked at her. She asked, "Me stealing a perfume?" My mother was a village woman. She never liked the scent of perfume even when she got to scent it from the women in the churches. And now she was being accused of stealing a perfume. Well, of course, we thought that maybe, you know what, this maybe woman mistook my mother. But then out of the blue, 3 more witnesses came and claimed that my mother had really stolen the perfume. I had nothing to do because my mother was my source of living and everything. Everyone in the supermarket gathered and now was staring at my mother, a woman who stole a perfume, a woman who was putting on sackcloth, a woman who was poor was being accused of stealing a perfume. My mother was disoriented. She had nothing to do. She thought of very many ways of escaping and tried to explain, but no one listened to her. But as the saying goes, 100 people can't hurt one. Out of the adults, out of all the people who accused my mother of stealing a perfume, a young child, barely 10 years, stood up and said, "No, mommy, me, I saw that woman. She's the one who took the perfume. Check in her bag, she has it." Everyone looked at the child and they claimed, "No, this child is young. She can't be telling the truth." But the cashier listened to the child and said, "Okay, let's check her." The woman accusing my mother of stealing the perfume got so frightened, and she said, "Of course I can't steal it. I've been working in this supermarket for 3 months now. How can I be a thief?" She denied everything. But the young child insisted and claimed the woman had stolen the perfume and accusing my mother falsely. So the cashier decided to check with the CCTV cameras. And alas, the child was telling the truth. My mother had not stolen the perfume. The woman accusing my mother of stealing the perfume is the one who had stolen the perfume. If the society had people who were willing to tell the truth and stick to what was right, maybe justice would be served in society. When this lady who was accusing my mother was investigated, she claimed that a woman saw us entering the supermarket and she got annoyed and had hired her to accuse my mother because she didn't want me to go to school. This woman was bribed by money. She was given money to accuse my mother falsely, and because of that, my future was almost going to be destroyed. I live to tell a story that needs justice, a story that shows if we could uphold the ethics of justice, maybe this world would be a better world for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, that was Tina Christine, and I'm sure we all enjoyed it. Finally, we shall have Joy Ejiri.
I begin my story in 3, 2, 1. You see, growing up, Rachel Biamukama always wanted to be a star. She always wanted to become a minister. And yes, she did, but how could she find herself drenched down on the floor in a prison? You see, Rachel became the first female minister for the youth. Of course, this came with its challenges. She didn't understand how much backlash she would receive. You see, a week after being elected, Mr. Arthur Biamukama, the previous youth minister, started sending her death threats. sending her threats in ways she couldn't understand, and she refused to be silent. She had to take a stand because many youth, as she spoke, many youth refused to talk. And so she spoke. She talked about how Arthur would send her death threat. She talked about all the horrible things he wanted to do to her. I guess that's why they say never run your tongue if you don't know a lot. Because after some time, money started filling her pockets. Like mysterious amounts of money started coming from random accounts entering her bank. And she was excited. She thought this was finally the redemption she needed. She was finally a star. A star, and she was known, and for speaking out for the youth, she was seen as a figure, so she accepted this money. She took this money, she used this money, she bought a lot with this money. And one day as she sat with her daughter watching TV, she was shocked to see Arthur in the television, speaking on the cameras. Guess what? Your youth minister who spoke against me steals your money. And then Arthur talks about how all the schools in that area did not have iron sheets. They talked about how much money the schools needed, but they didn't have. And of course, at home, Rachel looked at the TV and she laughed. She was like, what is he talking about? Until Arthur pulled out his receipts. He showed the money he showed bank statements from her account, bank statements of money, and he showed evidence of how she had been using money that was supposed to be taken for these schools. And then Rachel found herself being dragged away by policemen, crying, screaming for someone to listen to her, but no one heard. All they saw was a corrupt official, blinded by her greed. And so as she stood in her cell, she wanted to cry. She begged for the angels above to come save her, the demons below, to take her from this pain, but it did not work. Well, Rachel taught her daughter ethics. And her daughter was growing up to become a lawyer, a prominent lawyer. And when Rachel's daughter saw all this happening to her mother, she said, this can't be my mom. My mom cannot do this type of stuff. And so El Birungi decided to investigate. She investigated, she took pictures from her phone, she took massive screenshots of the letters that Arthur would send her. Letters that were now discarded and seen as false. Because how could a corrupt official think that someone who proved her from being corrupt could speak against her? And so now El stood in the lawyer's office. She stood with the evidence, enough evidence to get her mom out of these shackles. She took the letters that Arthur sent, death threats, amount of agony that Arthur promised upon her. And the lawyer listened. Because the lawyer he believed in ethics.
That was it from Storytelling Finals, and we hope you enjoyed just like the judges enjoyed. And we shall meet